Hi, welcome to Issues and Insights. I'm your host, Melanie Parker. I'm really excited today to welcome Norma Hatfield, Executive Director of Casa of the Heartland. Welcome.
Thank you.
I was very excited when I found out that you were going to be the guest today and that this was going to be our topic. I think you all are very well known in the community. The name Casa, you see it because you do a lot of fundraising, you're very present, but I'm really excited to find out exactly what you do. So welcome, Norma. I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's start with Casa. C-A-S-A, what does that mean?
It's court-appointed special advocates.
Okay, so you all, it's children, correct?
Yes.
So what do you do when I know you look for volunteers. So what are you looking for in a volunteer?
Well, to kind of step back for a minute, we're a nonprofit organization.
Gotcha.
We recruit, train, and manage volunteers in the community that speak out for a child. They are the eyes, ears, and voice for a child while they're going through the family court system.
Gotcha. Are these children who have been taken from their homes? Are they foster children? What is the average? I see the number 90 here in this empty chair. 90, these 90 children, where do they come from?
Well, to be in the family court system, most likely they are abused and neglect, and they've been removed from their homes.
Right.
And they can be placed between foster care, residential treatment centers. They may even go to family or friends.
Okay.
And then they navigate through that system to figure out what is the best interest of the child in the long term. And that's what a Casa volunteer does, is they are that constant person while all the other things that are going on within the system and the child's life, they are focusing on that child, and they're speaking in court, they're talking to the people around them, and they're making an assessment on what's in the best interest of the child.
Got you. So an assessment, that sounds like it's somebody who really has to take some training. How many volunteers do you currently have through the system?
We have 43 right now.
Wow.
And we're serving about 105 children.
Okay.
And the training is about 30 hours that we focus on, training hours to learn what to do, how to engage with the child, how to do interviews with teachers and all the different people that know what's happening within the child's life.
Wow.
So we try to prepare people as much as possible, and then we hold their hand as they're going through the process.
Yes.
Because it's definitely, there are times that it can be a little bit tough when you know what's happened to that child, but there's so much empowerment in helping navigate that child and speaking for that child as they go through the process.
So you're the hand holder of the hand holder.
Yes, yes.
Gosh, I just, hearing you, I'm thinking about these kiddos, and I'm just feeling very sad and very heavy, but at the same time very appreciative that there are people who can step in and do these things. Let's get personal for a minute.
Yeah.
Why do you do this?
When you know what I know, how can you not do it?
Right.
That is why I don't sleep at nights, and if I do sleep, that's why I get up in the mornings, because I know all these kids' stories. I know what's happening across the state of Kentucky. I know what's happening right here in Hardin County in the Fort Knox area.
Wow.
I mean, Kentucky has had the highest rate of child abuse than any other state in the nation, and we've been running number one for a while. Hardin County, in the family court system there, we've been running in the top as far as the number of family court petitions than any other county.
Hardin County?
Really? Yes, Hardin County. And this 90, while we're serving 105 children, there are 90 more kids that are waiting on a Casa volunteer.
Does a volunteer, do they just, well, you said that the numbers don't match up, but so 1 or 2 kids, is it like, and would I be assigned to a family of children? How does that work?
You could be.
Yeah.
It just varies. It depends on that child and that case and that scenario. There might be one volunteer to one child because that's all there was in that family group.
Right.
You could have 5, 6 kids. It just depends, and hopefully they're all placed in the same place. Sometimes they're not. But what we ask our volunteers to do is to, after we train them, we try to find the right fit. We do a little bit of interviewing with them, and we try to find that right fit for what we know about the case with that particular volunteer. And then we do the hand-holding as they do the hand-holding. But 90 kids that I can't show pictures of, 90 kids that I can't.
That's the empty chair.
That's the empty chair.
Yeah.
It's about the fact that these kids are waiting for their voice. They are waiting for that one person while everything else in their life is chaotic. That one person to be their eyes, ears, and voice. That person to give them a seat with a Casa.
Gotcha. So everyone through Casa is a volunteer. The people that interact directly with the children.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the staff does too. We may go on the visits with the volunteer, but the core mission is about the community stepping out there and helping a child.
Wow. I had no idea. That's a lot to process. Wow. Okay. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
So let's put me in the volunteer seat. And this is something that I want to do. Where do I start?
Give us a call.
Okay.
Send us an email. We've got a website, casaheartland.org, O-R-G, and there's a volunteer. Actually, all the information you would want would be out there. We've got the empty chair video as well.
Nice. And we'll be showing that.
Thank you.
Yes.
So what we would do is once you contact us, we would ask you to fill out an application, and we would have to do a background check.
Oh, sure.
You definitely
That's valid.
Yeah.
Appreciate it even. Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
we want to make sure that our kids, are safe. And,
Yes.
but
They've been through enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would do that background check, and then we would set you up for your training. And right now our training is virtual, and so it is once a week. You're going to do a Zoom call with one of our staff members, and that's where we start that training. And then once you complete that training, you'll do a little interview that consists of another volunteer that's been through the ropes a few times, myself, and a board member. And all that is to just kind of reassess the training that you're ready. And then we get you to court virtually, and you swear in that you're going to keep everything confidential and that you're going to uphold all the things that you've been trained to do, and then we set you up on your first case.
Wow. And the first case, I'm assuming, is drilling into a specific child and their circumstances. With COVID, how do you handle that? Is it all Zoom? A court is Zoom? Would I ever actually get to hug on that little thing?
So right now, because Hardin County's in the red zone, we've gone back to virtual.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that everybody is safe.
Sure.
So that virtual can be by phone, FaceTime, Zoom, all the different avenues that you can do a virtual visit and check in. When things get a little better, then we allow visitations as long as the volunteer is comfortable with it, the caregiver where the child is comfortable with it, but of course then there's still social distancing guidelines that we have to follow. It's kind of tough. Some of our volunteers, when we had to switch to virtual, it was really hard. You do build a bond with these children.
Absolutely. Your sole purpose there is to protect them.
To protect that child, to be that voice, to be that one person. And, a lot of people don't understand. When you think about the empty chair and you think about it, this child has been abused and neglected in most cases. And sometimes it's terrible, terrible circumstances. They're what they know as their normal, whether it's good or bad, they lose that security as well when they go into foster care, as an example. And attorneys may come and go, social workers may come and go, so many people in their lives may come and go, and that's why it's so critical that we get that Casa volunteer.
That one constant.
That one constant. And for a judge to assign a Casa to a case, there's a concern. You got to stop and think. There are so many cases out there, unfortunately, of abuse and neglect. But for a judge to say this child needs a Casa,
so that's where it starts. The judge Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's
interesting.
court appointed.
Gotcha. That
Yeah.
makes sense, I guess. I'm pushing it all together. Okay, that makes sense.
And so for a judge to do that, there must be, a lot of different circumstances that the judge just says, I want somebody specifically focusing on the child while the system is so busy.
Yes.
It may be there's just multiple parties and it's confusing and complex. It may be the child's been traumatized and just wants somebody special to kind of help navigate that child.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. It makes sense now. It's all, like I said, I've heard Casa, and you all are always on every list of any committee I'm on for fundraiser, this and that. Casa's always on that list, so you all are great about that. That is wonderful. It's important for people to know exactly what you all do. It is tough. Yeah. Emotionally, I can imagine. So another challenge, of course, you have is fundraising.
Yeah.
And that in itself could be rough. I've read here about a virtual run. Tell us about that.
So as part of our Empty Chair campaign, we've set up a virtual walk or run.
Okay.
And in honor of the 90 children that are waiting on a seat for a Casa, we have the 90 Miles in Their Shoes challenge.
90 Miles in Their Shoes challenge. I like that.
So you are walking 1 mile for every child that's waiting on a Casa volunteer.
Okay.
And the event started on November 1st. And whatever day that you register, from that day your 90 days start. So you have 90 days to walk 90 miles in honor of 90 children. The last day to register is January 1st.
Okay.
And the event closes on April 1st. And, to me, it's a win-win. We're raising awareness for these children that need a Casa volunteer. We're also getting an opportunity during the holidays to get a little more activity.
Yes.
And so for me, I look at it as you can do something for yourself, but you can do something for a child that you don't even know.
Yeah, just think about that child while you're walking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe that'll help you put some pep in your step.
Yeah.
Get that heart rate up.
Yeah.
And one benefit we definitely have, well, we have many wonderful benefits of Hardin County, but one is that we have some fabulous hiking trails right here in Hardin County, much more than people might realize. Just go to the All Trails app and check it out, and we have some amazing trails. So how do we parlay that walking into money for you?
Well, first of all, we're bringing awareness.
Right.
And so we want to do two things. We want to bring awareness and maybe get more people thinking about becoming a volunteer. At the same time, the registration fee that you would pay is really a donation to Casa.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And do you know the amount on that?
It's $90.
90? Oh, okay. I should have known that. I should have thought that through. Awesome. So if I do decide, because I kind of feel like I'm leaning into this right now. So how big of a commitment is it? And morally and emotionally, I'm thinking it doesn't matter. This needs to happen. But for our audience, for the sake of the interview, how big of a commitment would a Casa volunteer be giving?
Well, initially, more of your time is at the very beginning of a case.
Sure.
Because you're doing the training, and then at the very beginning of a case, you're an investigator, basically, and that's part of what we train you to do. You are talking to the parents to figure out what's going on and what's needed as far as maybe counseling or something along those lines.
Is that tough?
We train you. We train you.
I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, we train you and we go with you. You're not alone.
Gotcha.
But you are talking to teachers. You're talking to therapists, potentially doctors. You're talking to everybody that's kind of around that child's life, and trying to figure out, okay, what exactly do we need to make sure needs to be done so that in the end that child is in a loving, safe environment.
Right.
And specifically, you're connecting with that child to figure out what needs to be done.
So when you're doing this investigating, are you trying to confirm past things, or are you trying to create better future things? Or is it kind of a culmination of both?
I think it's a combination. The court already has the social worker is pulling together some of the
History.
history,
And all that, yeah.
and
Good.
then and then from there, what you're doing is, okay, what needs to be done now? Do we need to recommend some additional therapies? Whether it's physical or emotional for the child, what needs to happen? You're also just making sure that wherever that child is placed, you're doing checks there to make sure that they're safe.
Right.
And so you're focusing on a little bit of history, but where do we go to make this child's life better? How do we change that child's story? That's really what this is all about.
Right. How did you get into this? I mean, obviously you have a beautiful passion. How did you see something, witness something? I'm sorry, I don't mean to get personal, but this is a very emotional subject, and it's so important. And I want folks to really tap in and do some soul searching to see if this is something that is for them. Can they handle it? Because I'm thinking I would dot somebody's eye, but I don't know if I have the temperament. I don't know. But you said with training. Yeah. So, why are you doing it?
Well, in 2014, my granddaughter was in a home where with some other children, and we didn't know this at the time, but there were drugs in the house.
Okay.
And the youngest child, who was 17 months old, ingested meth.
Oh.
And this, for me, this was a life-altering. The system didn't work the way it was supposed to.
Right.
We didn't get a phone call. My son, who is the father of my granddaughter, was with us. He didn't get a phone call. The kids all went straight to foster care. And that was our introduction into how the child welfare system works. For all the positive things that the system does, sometimes there are things that don't work as well.
Right.
We spent 18 months getting permanent custody of my granddaughter, and we also took her stepsister.
Oh.
And they are my grandkids, and they are my world.
Sure.
But when they went to foster care, you're so desperate for information, how to get them, what's going on, why did this happen? And what I found as I'm out there trying to figure all of this out, I found out just how many other kids were in that same scenario or worse.
Right.
And I started lobbying at the time, it wasn't intentional, just speaking out for Kinship Care. And Kinship Care is when a child's removed from their home and they're placed with other family members. And I started meeting all of these great grandparents and grandparents and other caregivers, some of them on disability and no income, taking in 4 to 8 kids. And there wasn't a lot of service support there for them. So I started working with our Senator Parrott here, and we started. Yes,
he's a great guy.
He is, and he and I worked towards a bill for Kinship Care services and support.
Wow.
From that, I started just getting involved anywhere I could to how can we make things better for the kids and their families. And as I became more and more aware of what was happening in Kentucky, I started looking at what was happening right here in Harlan County, Fort Knox, and I went through the training. And because my intent was to become a volunteer, and then I saw there was an opening for the executive director, and I applied.
Wow. How's that for karma?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it goes back to what I said earlier. How can you not?
Yeah.
How can you not do more? We don't see these kids. These are kids that, go to school with our kids. These are kids that
are very good at pretending everything is okay, I'm sure.
Yes. And so that's why I had to apply for the job, and this is what I do, this is what I live for. And when you know what's really going on and you know a little bit more about every single child,
right,
that's the motivation.
Yes, absolutely. And as a fellow grandparent, I would fight for my grandbaby. Yeah. But there are a lot of kiddos who have family members who love them, but do not know how to navigate the system, do not know what questions to ask. You don't know what you don't know. So that makes perfect sense now, that how important a Casa volunteer is, from the executive director all the way down, to be a voice for these kiddos, because someone somewhere loves that baby, surely. But not everybody is going to fight or know how to fight the way you did. So kudos to you, and I'm glad that your grandbaby had you, and their stepsister had you to become their voice. And so did Casa already exist before you got involved?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Is it just in Kentucky, or is it like a national thing?
Yeah, there's a national.
Okay.
I think in Kentucky there's about 23 programs, but it's also national.
Okay.
And you know, the need to help a child while they're navigating, that's something that's everywhere.
Right.
It's everywhere. That doesn't change. That's universal. You know, but what I want to do is I want to focus specifically right here in Hardin County.
Is this your area?
Yes.
Is Hardin County? Okay.
Yeah, Hardin County, Fort Knox.
Gotcha. Okay. So if someone works full time during the day, how does that correlate into doing something, volunteering for these kiddos?
It's definitely a little more challenging,
Sure.
but we do have people that do both.
Okay.
We can do training at night. What we're trying to do is to figure out how we can accommodate anybody that wants to step up and help a child. So we do evening classes, we do day classes. Right now, visits being virtual, that certainly helps somebody to
Sure.
work around their schedule. But you know, you can visit a child in the evening. You can visit a child on a weekend. You just have to coordinate those things to make it happen.
Gotcha.
We're also looking at buddy systems. You know, maybe a couple that wants to, you know, both take on one case together, and that kind of helps.
That is amazing.
Mitigate that. So we're looking at a lot of creative ways that we
Yes.
can get to more children.
Very accommodating for everyone.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. We are about out of time. Wow, I feel emotionally drained. This is beautiful in a good way. Anything else you want to share? And I'm sorry I got so personal, but it's just a personal thing, you know? It really is. People need to tap in and figure out where they fit to help in Hardin County.
I think the thing that I would tell people is these children are there, whether we see them or not.
Right.
And there are so many different ways that you can help. And just give us a call, and we'll work with you and figure out what that right fit is. You really can help a child.
Wonderful. I love it. Norma, thank you so much. Not just for your time here today, but overall for helping. Hardin County is our home. This is our community. These are our families. These are our people, our tribe. And thank you for doing what you do to take care of these babies. I genuinely appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that's it. There you go. Go to Casa's website, watch their video, and make a call. Don't think about it. Follow your heart, make a call, and figure out where you fit in. Thank you.
There's an empty chair. This isn't just any empty chair, but a child's chair. It's not just for any child, but a child who's been neglected and abused. A child who's been through unimaginable trauma. A child who may be trying to adapt to living within foster care or even residential care. A child who is trying to navigate a complex and terrifying family court system. A chair for a child who doesn't even have that one person that they can count on when so many others are in and out of their lives. A child who knows they can count on you to be there for them.
Kentucky has had the highest rate of child abuse and neglect cases throughout the entire country. And in the past few years, Hardin County has had a higher rate of increase in dependency, neglect, and child abuse petitions than any other county in the Commonwealth. These are abused and neglected kids that may play on the sidewalks in our neighborhoods. These are kids who ride the bus and go to school with our children. These are kids who really need someone special in their lives to be their eyes, ears, and voice in court. Casa, or Court Appointed Special Advocates, is a nonprofit organization that recruits and trains a community of volunteers. These are people like you and me. These are people who want to step up and make a difference for a child. These are people who want to make a difference in a child's life and make it better. Today, while I'm very proud to say that we here at Casa of the Heartland are serving 104 children, unfortunately, we have 90 more kids that are on a wait list. That's 90 abused and neglected children right here in the Hardin County, Fort Knox area that are waiting for you. 90 empty chairs for 90 children waiting on a Casa volunteer.
So tell me, who is going to speak for you today?
I'm waiting on my seat with the Casa, sir.
Will you help us fill those empty chairs? Change a child's story. Be a Casa volunteer today.